I choose to use a variety of tools. I think there's a specific tool for every function of the fire line. I like to start off my line construction with the Bigfoot 40. I could take about 80% of the stobs out with this, and then when I run out of stobs, I can move a mass amount of material in line, help out the tools in the back. Whatever I can't take out with the Bigfoot, I'll use the Super P40 behind that, and that's going to take out any stob 1.5 to 2 inches that you need to take out. Anything bigger than that you could probably leave and cut low. After that, I'll start chopping my line. To get a 4-foot scrape going on, I'll use Scalper 48s behind that. And then to level my line, because all these are chopping tools, I'll use the Mcleod, the JR Fire Tool Mcleod, and this is my leveling tool. I don't necessarily chop with this tool. I scrape with it and I get all the bumps out and clean it up. Then on the back of the line, we're talking about fire line, I like the Chingadera 40 in the back. This can be used just about anywhere on the fire line, but I like to use it in the back initially just for trenching. So when all the fire line is complete, I could have my guys trench or build fire berms or water bars in back. This is, to me, by far the best trenching tool there is. It's great for chopping. You can put it on its side for scraping. You get a lot of dirt moved. And then I'll usually use a fire rake, but today all I have is a garden leaf rake. And that'll just pretty up the line for the most part. So basically when we're cutting fire line, we do a 8-foot canopy by a 4-foot scrape. I already went through here and took out a lot of the manzanita with a saw. So I'll start out with the Bigfoot 40, and this is going to take out the majority of your stobs. This is their priority, is to take all the stobs out. And then when I run out of stobs, I can move a lot of line. So a lot of times if people only have Pulaskis up front, what happens is, yeah, they're good at taking out the stobs, but when they run out of stobs, then what are the guys going to do? Sometimes they'll put the Pulaski on its side and try to scrape, but it's really not that efficient. If you utilize different tools in a specific manner, your fire line is going to come out a lot easier, and you'll see that you last a lot longer cutting the line. I'll go up to a set of stobs, and a lot of times I won't face the same direction every time. I like to circle it a little bit, take the corners off. All this little stuff, these little punji sticks that come up, they could stab people on the line. Some of this is already loosened up because I cut it last year, but one of the hardest places to cut line is in a manzanita field. That's why I want to do it here. I'm going to circle around. Clean it up so it's ready for the Super P to come through. It looks like it'll almost come out. One thing I don't like people to do is to pry with the tools. If you come in here and then try to pry it out, that's how you're going to break your handle. So if it doesn't chop out, sometimes you can put your foot on it and just get it out of the ground. Said if you run out of stobs with this thing, I can start moving some line. I'm opening up 2-foot sections with 4 swipes. That's pretty good. That booger's a little big. There you go. So here's the Super P40. I like to make sure that it's nice and sharp. It's made from 10 gauge, oversized hoe in the back. moves a lot of dirt, and at the same time will take the stobs out nicely. 3-side sharp on the back. Very easy to sharpen. It's on a 40-inch handle, just like the Bigfoot 40 was. It's a 40-inch handle. Most Pulaskis come on a 32 or 36-inch, either wood or fiberglass. This 40-inch handle is going to save your back in the long run. I don't have to go down as far. So I'll use this, anything Bigfoot 40 can't take out. I like to quarter up the stobs so they come out easily. Kind of chop them up, come around with the backside with the hoe. The good thing about this Super P is I can sharpen it up in like 5 minutes. Head up the hill. These stobs are pretty difficult to take out. Any ponderosa, cedar stobs, the trees. Sometimes I'll leave them. Quarter it up, circle it. See if I can hit it. Then whatever's left, if I'm on the fire line or trail building, if I can't get down that far, I'll just bury it. That way no one trips over it. Always work smarter rather than harder. If you could just pull it out, pull it out. You always want to be careful swinging at a 45. You can miss, shoot off, and hit someone. Now the next thing I like to use is the Scalper 48. As opposed to a traditional Mcleod, I like using the Scalper 48 because it's curved side to side, which helps create a chopping tool. Usually to get through some of the grasses and thicker terrain, you want something that'll actually chop and move dirt. The head's a little bit wider than a traditional Mcleod. It's going to move more dirt and also sits a little taller. Tines are about, I think they're 3/4 of an inch longer, and the head's about an inch taller, so you get deeper into the terrain. Most people like to use Mcleods. Everyone's going side to side. I have my own method to the madness. I like to make things a little bit easier. When you move side to side, you're only moving about 8 inches typically at a time. I like to use straights, diagonals, then traditional, and then backside. And if it's all possible, I like to start at the top of the hill and then work down. I'll hike up about 10 feet and start my line there. And this guy's drawing the line and creating straights. Anytime I go through, get to some vines and stuff, you can chop right through it. So I'll work my way up the hill. Draw my line. I'm getting about 1.5 feet on every swing, as opposed to 8 inches if I just went side to side. Plus, gravity's helping me out as I'm going downhill. My second guy is going to do diagonals, and he's also going to have gravity help him out. Diagonals, you always want to work off a corner. So he's going side to side. What that creates is a nice triangle. It's a good anchor spot. If you're always hitting the side of this, it's blunt and doesn't go as far. If you work off a corner, it's going to make things easier. And I'm also going to get a good 1.5 feet per every scrape. With 4 guys doing this method, he can easily get 4 feet. Go up the hill. Gravity helped me out. Now my third tool is just going to work traditional straights. Since you were working diagonals here, a lot of your edges aren't going to be that blunt. You're going to have little corners in there that's going to help you pull that back. And all he has to do is bring that back about 8 inches. Foot's great, but since he's already working through all this duff, we're probably going to be looking at 8 inches or so. These tools are great in the duff because they move. The heads are so big and they have nice head weight that it's going to help you move all the stuff. So you work up the hill. If I get a vine, this tool chops it out pretty easy. It's also good to choke up on the tool. You get more of a chopping action. Scalper 48s also come in a 40-inch handle, which are nice. You can get more leverage. They're more powerful. My last guy will do the backside. Not everybody likes to do the backside because it's a little controversial. It puts more debris on the fire line side. But sometimes when it's difficult to get your 4 feet, it's a lot easier to do your fire side over here than your non-fire side, because you've created a big berm with lots of material. If you want to move that back, it's going to take a lot more work. You might even need another body. I like it where 4 bodies always get me 4 feet. So the back side is just going on this opposite side and shuffling back 6 to 8 inches. That's it. Just a little bit. And now the whole crew, he's the only person that's allowed to do this. When you're struggling for 4 feet, it's the easiest way to do it. And if you're worried about the fire, sometimes you go 6 to 8 inches and then just toss it back. And also, when there's a stob left in the middle or something, sometimes instead of calling that Pulaski back, it's easier to go around it and get my 4 feet over here. So from the stob to the edge, my handle's 4 feet long. That's basically 4 feet. Cloud's going to come through here and do the lateral movement portion of the line to make everything nice and level. This isn't a chopping tool. I like it for leveling. So you take little stuff out of the line, maybe clean it up. People like level line, and you can see the wave it creates when it cuts. That's the one we covered up earlier. And also, you can go uphill, do diagonals, gravity help you out. Take the tines, knock your berm down a bit. So before I use the Chingadera, I usually have the Chingaderas first, just to make everything look like nice. I'm going to use my leaf rake. And this rake, really, I don't care he goes this against the fire line either. So one of the most important things to do when you're cutting fire line is to make fire berms. So fire berms are going to help if you have an ember rolling down the hill. That berm is going to help catch that ember and not roll into the green. If I have a little bit of stob right here left over, I like to build my berms on top of those stobs. It helps support them and keep them nice and strong. So if we're on the hillside, we think fire embers or rolling material is going to come from the right side and come down onto our fire line. We want our fire berm to be a 45-degree angle, so it'll not only catch that ember but throw it back into the black. And with trenches, I like the Chingadera 40. Builds them nice and tall. Of course, after you spend all this time making your trenches, someone's going to come over and want to walk on them. That's why it's important to make them strong. So I might go through that a couple of times. Maybe if I have a couple people with Chingaderas, you want it to be a nice check mark. You can also get your Super P back here and dig them out even further. So it's probably a foot tall on the back side with a nice check mark. So if an ember were to come rolling down, it'd hit that berm and stop it. You want to make sure that it leads all the way into the black so that ember doesn't kick back onto your line. I'll go up maybe, depending on the slope and the hazard, 25 feet, possibly up to 50 feet, and build another one. So, when you're making your fire bars or trenches, if you're new to the fire line, it takes a lot of work. These are not steps to make it easier for you to get over the hill. Proper way is to step over your trench or in it to help compact it. Don't step on it. JR Fire Tools, thanks for listening. Bye. Have a safe fire season.